These are devotions for people at a social distance. This morning, I was struck by an odd phrase in my devotions, in my reading from Acts chapter 8, starting at verse 26, the story of Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. And I do pay attention when something strikes me a little bit funny. It just happened by accident. I didn't realize I was reading a different translation than the one I usually do, and this phrase stood out as different, and I found it kind of interesting. So when I read it, it was like this. Then the angel of the Lord said to Philip, "Get up and go toward the south to the road that goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza." This is a road that is no longer used. Now, I only ever read that as translated, this is a desert road or this is a wilderness road, but this translation kind of struck me. And so I looked up the Greek, and it can actually be translated either way, because basically all it says, this is desert. This is abandoned. So one possible reading is that this is simply a road that nobody uses anymore. Kind of interesting, isn't it? And it doesn't seem like it's a desert road, by the way, because as you continue to read the story, they come across water. So, it's not necessarily running through a desert, at least not a literal desert. So what if the author, it's an odd comment, this road deserted, right? It's an odd comment. Why would the author throw that in? Well, maybe it's a geographical comment, sure, but maybe it's a comment to his readers. And he is saying to the readers, hey, what's happening here doesn't happen anymore. So, and what's happening here? Well, Philip is just going around, and he happens to be led by the Spirit to a certain place, and he encounters someone. And, as he comes across this guy, he hears him reading as he goes along, and he goes up to him and says, "Do you understand what you're reading?" And he replies, "How can I unless someone guides me?" And he invites Philip up to get and sit beside him. So maybe what he's saying is that this is a kind of circumstance that we don't see happening anymore, which is kind of true in our world today, right? We don't notice what other people are reading. Everyone around us is constantly reading a phone or something else, and we don't notice what other people are reading, and we don't, invite people to just come along, strangers that we meet, to just come and enter into a conversation. This is not a normal kind of thing in our world, and maybe the writer is suggesting, this used to happen, but it doesn't really happen anymore. An interesting thought. And I guess it's a reminder to me that situations do come up, and they might be unusual situations. You might find yourself in something that just doesn't seem to happen anymore, and pay attention to those circumstances. Perhaps, like Philip, you will discover that God has put you just in the right place at the right time to reach out to someone, maybe explain something to them, maybe help them, maybe support them through a difficult time. Those are the situations we all need to be open to, and especially maybe because they are rare. They don't seem to happen anymore. So, like Philip, can we be open? Can we be ready to respond to the situations that show up in front of us? Lord God, may we be ready, like Philip, to respond when you put us in an unusual situation.